The guest's father ran a parking garage in Greenwich Village from the 1950s through the 1970s. Just a block away on 10th Street, artists like Elaine de Kooning and Wolf Kahn gathered and often parked there. When cash was tight, they arranged trades, sometimes in artwork instead of payment. This piece by Elaine de Kooning, a post-impressionist artist, was created after a trade deal with Kahn, who was just starting to make a name for himself. Elaine de Kooning's fame skyrocketed in 1962 when she was commissioned to paint a portrait of President John F. Kennedy. The appraiser points out the signature from 1963, confirming the date and aligning it with the guest's memory.
Is an early work by Kahn, I would say from sometime in the mid-1960s. And it would be something very scarce to see on the market nowadays.
At auction, this early Wolf Kahn canvas is conservatively valued between
an evaluation of somewhere around $30,000 to $50,000, perhaps $40,000 to $60,000.
While the de Kooning piece will go for,
at auction, I would put a value on this painting of between $7,000 and $10,000.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a lot more than 6 months worth of garage rent.
There you go.
Even today.
This was a gift that I received when I was about 10 years old from my Aunt Tricia.
The guest received the ticket as a childhood gift from her Aunt Tricia, not realizing its historic significance at the time. It resurfaced years later while sorting through an old box from her childhood bedroom. Aunt Tricia had traveled to the Olympics with a friend and was randomly given tickets, one of which happened to be for that iconic semifinal. After Team USA's 4-3 victory, Aunt Tricia met members of the U.S. hockey team in the Olympic Village, where she had goalie Jim Craig autograph the ticket with the famous inscription, "Going for the gold."
You got one really cool aunt, for sure. So what we have here is a ticket to the 1980 Miracle on Ice game, the medal round game between the Team USA and the USSR. It was the game to get into the gold medal game. February 22nd, 1980.
That rare and spontaneous inscription captures a unique moment after the win, but before the gold medal game. The signature is the most inspiring part of the ticket because, unlike most surviving tickets from the game signed Miracle on Ice as the game outcome proved to be, the signature on this stub "Going for Gold" proves it was before the game, making it rarer, attesting to the mindset of the U.S. team before the gold medal game.
The gold medal game was, I think, 2 days later. So there was a very short, finite amount of time that he would have signed it like that, which makes this really special.
The appraiser noted that ticket stubs from this event are becoming increasingly collectible. While full tickets have surfaced, signed stubs from that exact night remain exceptionally scarce. With its rare inscription, provenance, and connection to a defining moment in American sports history, the ticket is valued at,
I would insure it probably for around $15,000.
It's priceless to me. It's something I keep prominent in my living room.
In 2007, at a rainy Antiques Roadshow in Newport, Rhode Island, longtime Tiffany expert Arlie Sulka found the piece she had been waiting 2 decades to see. A guest arrived with an unwieldy crate on a cart, and inside it was glass that made history. The guest explained her aunt had purchased Tiffany vases by the crate during the Great Depression.
This was a little more of a standout piece because it's an art glass vase. That vase was not meant to ever have water or flowers in it. The flowers are actually in the vase already.
The lava vase is an exceptional example of Tiffany's glass art, made with complex layering and molten textures, making it highly unique.
It's extremely special. It is meant to look like molten lava on the surface of the vase. And this one is particularly interesting because you also have these protrusions here.
The lava vase stands out due to its striking design, meant to resemble molten lava in motion, with intricate protrusions similar to vases shown in the 1906 Paris Salon exhibition. The appraiser goes into more detail, explaining that the Tiffany lava glass was crafted in response to Tiffany's fascination with Cypriot glass and became one of the company's rarest and most treasured glassworks.
It's not what you normally see or what you expect to see with Tiffany. Most people identify immediately with the gold and the blue iridescent pieces of glass.
In the collection are 2 other stunning glass pieces, all carefully packaged in their original crate, providing historical context and rarity. The appraiser adds that Tiffany's reputation for exquisite glasswork extended across various other art glass, including the pastel and paperweight vases found in this collection.
The Morning Glory is something that Tiffany collectors aspire to have in their collection. Tiffany was very proud of it, and this was an exceptionally lovely piece.
The guest also brought along the original crate, a valuable addition to the overall collection, which adds to the provenance and rarity of these pieces.
In a retail setting, this is something for Tiffany geeks everywhere, collectors, museums. They would actually be very excited about this, and it would be worth between $5,000 and $10,000.
Holy cow!
The appraiser goes on to explain how Tiffany collectors greatly desire these rarities, with each piece appreciating in value due to their provenance, beauty, and limited availability.
This piece, which is not as sought after as some of the other art glass, would retail in probably between $2,000 and $3,000.
The appraiser estimates that the flower vase to be between $50,000 and $75,000, while the lava vase is estimated at. This guitar belonged to his brother, who was both a community theater performer and a guitar collector.
In a retail shop, could sell between $100,000 and $150,000.
Where's my brother? Wow, that's unbelievable. I had no idea.
Well, this was my brother's guitar. My brother took part in local community theater, and he would also perform in a band sometimes.
After his brother passed away 10 years ago, the guest inherited the guitar, keeping it in the family. The guest identifies the model of the guitar as a Gibson Explorer limited edition from 1976.
Okay, he must have bought it fairly...
You think he bought it new?
I think he must have bought it new.
The appraiser explains that this is a reproduction of the original Gibson Explorer, which was first made in 1958 and 1959, but was initially unpopular due to its unique shape. The 1976 version is made of mahogany, unlike the original made from Corina wood, and it has since become highly collectible.
Now, Gibson has just done this again and made a reissue of the original Explorer in Corina wood, made like the old ones.
The original Gibson Explorers can fetch upwards of $500,000 today due to their rarity and historical significance. The guest shares that he enjoys the tone of the guitar, and the appraiser agrees, commenting on the quality sound of the instrument despite some minor wear and pitting on the finish. The appraiser advises on the best cleaning method for the guitar's gold-plated parts, humorously mentioning that saliva is an effective, safe way to clean the metal without damaging it. He further explains that the 1976 Gibson Explorer is a particularly sought-after model. With the possibility of appreciating in the future, the item is estimated between...
It's probably in the $3,000 to $4,000-ish range.
Okay, it sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I suspect it'll go up from there.
Yeah, that's good to know.
I brought with me 5 figures from an animated movie called The Daydreamer.
She and her brother are collectors, and they bought the figures in 1985 from a dealer at the Cranford Antique Advertising Show in New Jersey, where the figures caught their attention due to their connection to puppetry. Her husband, a sculptor and collector, particularly admired puppetry, and the animated figures fit seamlessly into their growing collection. These figures were from the Daydreamer, produced by the iconic Rankin, Vase Productions, known for their groundbreaking stop-motion animation.
The company was founded by Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass, a New York-based production company. But when they first started in 1960, it was Videocraft International.
Interesting.
They did not get under the moniker of Rankin Bass Productions until 1968.
Although the Daydreamer wasn't as widely known as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, it remains an important film. Released in 1966, The Daydreamer is a beautiful adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's life and works. The film follows the Danish author's journey from a poor shoemaker's son to a dreamer in search of the Garden of Paradise. The film features a star-studded cast, including Victor Borge as one of the tailors, and Boris Karloff, the legendary actor famous for Frankenstein.
We have Edwin as the Emperor.
Oh, wow.
And then getting to the major all-stars, we have Patty Duke as Thumbelina and the one and only Boris Karloff.
Gosh, I love Boris.
Right? Frankenstein? I mean,
Although Rankin Bass was a New York-based company, the puppets used in the Daydreamer were made by Mom Studios in Japan, with renowned artist Tadahito Mochinaga overseeing their production. Each puppet is articulated, with movable heads, arms, and legs, allowing for the meticulous stop-motion animation that the company was known for.
it's believed that less than 100 puppets were produced over the course of Rankin Bass history. So to have 5 from the same film is rather incredible today.
Wow.
The guest recalls paying $350 for the set of 5 puppets, a significant sum at the time roughly the cost of their mortgage.
For the set of 5. And the dealer was like, he really indicated to us, like, you are getting something special.
Today, these puppets are valued at around
They would achieve in the $50,000 to $80,000 range.
Oh my gosh. Oh, did you hear that, Ed? My husband passed away a little while ago at a good old age, but
My husband and I collect costume sketches, and we have a dear friend that gave this to us as a gift.
He and his husband collect costume sketches, and about 5 years ago, a dear friend gave them this one as a gift. The friend, who had worked in the costume industry in Hollywood for years, was aware of their shared interest in film memorabilia. The sketch is from Sunset Boulevard, the iconic 1950s film starring Gloria Swanson. The costumes were designed by Edith Head, the most prolific costume designer in history, who has won more Oscars for costume design than anyone else.
Especially with Edith Head, this is a big issue. Is it actually production, or was it from one of her trunk shows? Because she was famous for doing these wonderful fashion shows in the 1960s.
The piece is confirmed to be from the production, as opposed to one of Edith Head's trunk show sketches, which were often reproduced later for fashion shows in the 1960s. Edith Head was famous for her autographed sketches, but the absence of an autograph on this one is a good sign. It means this sketch was made specifically for the film, and the details behind the piece back this up.
Wonderful frame job that you did.
Thank you.
Which allows us to take a look at all of the information that's contained on the back of this.
The back of the frame reveals important details: the producers and directors' names, the fabric choices, and the full time it would take to create the costume, 18 days. The fur for the costume was to be rented, which further solidifies its authenticity as a production sketch. What stands out is the swatch of fabric attached to the sketch. This is an actual piece of the costume from the film. It's a fantastic detail, especially since it relates directly to the scene in Sunset Boulevard where Gloria Swanson's character, Norma Desmond, makes her famous return to Paramount Pictures.
By my count, I think she has 15 costume changes, and I think this comes in around number 12. So we're partway through the movie when she makes the famous return to Paramount Pictures to see Mr. DeMille.
It was nominated for 11 Oscars and won for Best Screenplay and Best Art Direction, and for Best Music, Franz Waxman, 3 in total.
In the costume collecting world, you know most sketches generally sell for under $500, depending upon who it is and what it is. But then you have these pieces that are so iconic.
Given the importance of this piece, the appraiser estimates its value at,
and so I think conservatively, I would put an estimate of $10,000 to $15,000.
More than I thought, so that's nice to know.
It's an old map of New York, and my father had it in his basement for about 45 years.
He inherited this old map of New York 15 years from his father, who held it for 45 years prior. His father found the map in the 1960s, wrapped up in a small antique store in western New York, and it wasn't in very good shape then. The guest doesn't know how much his father paid for it, but figures that it couldn't have been much given the times. He wouldn't also know the value of what he had until later.
It wasn't in very good shape, but I don't think he knew what he really had until many years later. He once showed me a reference book that identified this map, which indicated it had some value.
The map is a rare 1879 Galton Hoybird's eye view of Manhattan and its adjacent parts. It stands out as one of the most important pieces of 19th century American cartography, towering over 6 feet tall, and showcases every building in the city with great detail. The Galton Hoy Partnership was founded in 1878, with Henry Hoy financing the project. However, the cost of creating such a map drained their funds, and sadly, Hoy was driven to suicide in 1878 due to financial despair. The map was completed posthumously in 1879, and its rarity is tied to these tragic circumstances. In the 1990s, only 2 known copies were in institutional collections, the New York Public Library and the Library of Congress. One fascinating feature of the map is the listing of the Galt and Hoy office in 1878, located in the footprint of what would later become the World Trade Center.
You can actually see named on a building here, Galt and Hoy. It's difficult to read here, but that was their office in 1878. And that, you may recognize, is in the footprint of the World Trade Center.
There are only 2 privately held copies of this map, and the other one had been framed and displayed in an office at the World Trade Center. Unfortunately, it was destroyed during the 11th of September attacks in 2001, as it was only framed there a week prior to the attacks. This map is actually in much better condition than those institutional copies and is believed to be one of only 5 or 6 surviving examples. The appraiser estimates that in today's market, this map would be worth,
in its current condition, I would estimate it at $40,000 to $60,000.
Wow, I'm shocked. I think my father would be very, very pleased, and he had a good eye, but that.
This is a McCabe 1790 carriage clock. It's been in the family a long time. And
there's this elegant timepiece, once mistaken for a 1790 carriage clock, passed down through generations and proudly displayed on the guest's family dining table.
James McCabe was born in 1748 in Ireland to a watchmaking family. Within 20 years, he's moved to Belfast and then eventually to London.
That 1790 isn't a date, but a serial number. And this rare clock still likely dates from just after 1800, crafted by Irish-born horologist James McCabe, who made his mark in London's prestigious Royal Exchange.
We don't call this a carriage clock, although it has a lot of carriage clock aspects to it. The case presentation falls into the category of a library, or more appropriately, a table clock.
Known for exquisite quality, McCabe hand-finished every component, down to the silver-washed brass dial and the signature engraved on the back plate, a detail reserved for pieces of real pride.
And it has a silver wash. If we turn this a little bit, you can see that it's a striking clock. It strikes the hour on a bell. And at the bottom of what we call the back plate, we see that it's also signed by James McCabe.
When turned to the side, it holds a rare fusee movement.
This clock is powered by a coil spring, which is inside this brass canister. A clock will run faster during the beginning of the week if it's just on a coil spring because there's more power, in theory.
It even retains its original chain, a rarity, likely handmade in candlelight link by link. With its original finish intact and its precision mechanics still impressing experts today, this McCabe clock is valued between
somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,500 to $5,000, buying it out of a good shop.
Yeah, well, it's a great clock. Thank you.
Very, very good quality.
Okay, thank you very much.
I brought a painting that I inherited from my mother and father. It's a David Burley.
The guest brought in this bold, textured painting inherited from her parents, who purchased it back in 1961 for $1,800 during a trip to New York. Known as the father of Russian futurism, Burley was a pioneer in avant-garde art before fleeing post-revolutionary Russia.
1918 to about 1921, he went through Russia, through the Urals, and to Japan. Went through Japan and came to the United States in the 1920s.
Some paintings were so personal, he'd even sign Van Gogh on one side and Burley on the other in homage to his hero.
Even Jackson Pollock, for example, they referred to him as Papa Burley.
Really?
He was shown at some important galleries like ACA galleries in New York.
This 1946 Florida scene is oil on canvas, nearly sculptural in its brushwork, and while it hasn't been cleaned in decades, the composition remains one of Burley's most powerful.
When we look at this painting, I see a lot of the influence of the Impressionist artists and Post-Impressionist artists on Burley, especially in the impasto. This is oil on canvas, by the way. It's dated 1946.
It may have been bought for a lesser price, but at auction today, it's estimated to fetch between
$30,000 to $40,000.
Wow. Oof. It's, that's amazing. It really is.
A sculpture, William Edmonson, was given to us by my brother. It's been in our house.
A quiet stone dove that had rested in the family's living room since 1985 turned out to be anything but ordinary. It was carved by William Edmonson, a self-taught African-American sculptor from Nashville who began working in limestone after he said God called him to do so in the early 1930s. He sold his carvings from a front yard studio, marked with a handmade sign, tombstones and garden ornaments.
This is 1930s in America. And here he is in Nashville. He's in the shadows of one of the great universities, Vanderbilt, and people became aware of Edmonson.
A New York fashion photographer photographed Edmonson's work, which reached the eyes of Alfred Barr, MoMA's first director.
Alfred Barr, a progressive and a real fan of modernism, interpreted Edmonson's work as these modern reductive sculptures. And he gave William Edmonson a one-man show at MoMA in 1937.
With its modern minimalist lines, this stone dove mirrors the quiet dignity found in all of Edmonson's work, what critics once described as reductive, but now recognize as revolutionary. Though Edmonson faded from public view after his death in 1951, interest in his work has soared.
Well, we're going to give your brother's name because he's a very seminal figure in Edmonson's progression in the art marketplace, who was Edmund Fuller. And Edmund Fuller curated a show in the 70s at the Montclair Art Museum.
Today, this sculpture is valued for insurance at
$125,000.
Yes.
Back in the 70s, I used to frequent a lot of flea markets. This one I picked up about mid or late 70s.
This lithograph, titled Dust Storm by Robert Riggs, was discovered by the guest in the 70s at a flea market for just $15. The piece was originally framed differently, but after purchasing it, the guest had it reframed and now proudly displays it alongside their other farm-related artwork.
How about 15? So she said, okay, so I brought it home. And I had it reframed, and I now currently have it on my wall with all my other farm-related drawings.
The artist, Robert Riggs, known for his work in the 1930s and 1940s, was influenced by George Bellows and best known for his dramatic boxing lithographs. Dust Storm captures the heroic struggle against nature during the Dust Bowl era.
So the artist is Robert Riggs. He was born in Decatur, Illinois, and he came to Pennsylvania.
Riggs' technique is evident in the stunning contrast between light and dark, beautifully rendering the clouds and storm as a heroic fight against nature.
Most of the lithographs he made some 80 or so lithographs, were done from the advertisements or illustrations he was working on.
The lithograph was originally made as an advertisement for Purolator air filters in the Saturday Evening Post, showcasing Riggs' powerful depiction of the Dust Bowl.
The boxing scenes he did, which look back to those famous lithographs that George Bellows made, like Stag at Sharkey's, from the teens.
Though many of Riggs' works are in public collections, this one remains one of his most sought-after prints, with only 50 to 100 produced.
Many of his lithographs initially as commissions for advertising campaigns, and he could sell some too. It's a classic Dust Bowl scene.
The appraiser evaluates the piece in excellent condition, estimating its replacement value at...
I would put a replacement value on yours at $15,000.
Whoa, winner, winner, winner. Good, well, this is not bad for a $15 investment.